What's cracking, Jack? You are in the jungle. Week 4 of the NFL is upon us. We're going to break down every single game for Sunday, September 28th, and come up with the best bet for all of them right here, right now. Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the show. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the jungle. We're going to break down every single game in the NFL for Week 4 on Sunday, September 28th. And I'll give you my best bet for each one of those games. I'm also going to leave for you 2 links in the comment section. The first link is for my $5 favorite play of the day. And for just $5, a finner, and no further obligation, you get my best bet for Week 4 text right to your phone. Last week was the San Francisco 49ers, the money line to beat the Cardinals. It cashed. Congratulations to all who purchased and tailed. The second link is to become a Jungle member. And for as little as 55 cents a day, 57 cents to our Canadian friends, you can become a Jungle member, become part of the fastest growing sports betting community in the Western Hemisphere. Get my full betting card, all sports, all access, text to your phone every single morning. Access to our members-only Discord. It's a great community with a lot of knowledgeable sports bettors. And you get a direct line to me if you'd like me to opine on any other bet that you are considering placing. We have a free weekly trial. Take it for a test spin and see if it's for you. Today's video is brought to you by Outlier.bet, the top name in sports betting research, and by Red Lobster, now accepting interesting trades as payment. First game we're looking at is an early one in Dublin, Ireland, so it is. Oh my goodness, Sunday morning, get up, grab yourself a pint, no one's going to judge you, so it shall be. It's 5 o'clock summer, so it is. Enjoy the day, enjoy the Sunday, watching NFL football. Vikings and the Steelers, Minnesota's laying 2.5. Now, you would think that the narrative would be based around the Steelers' defense, but that's not the case this season. Pittsburgh is bottom 10 in both yards per game and points per game allowed. And offensively, much like we're not used to for them, they can't run the football. Pittsburgh has the second worst rushing offense in the NFL, averaging just 63 yards a game on the ground, second worst only to Cincinnati. Looking at the Vikings offense, if J.J. McCarthy were still at the helm, someone whom I've never been big on, I might look at this game a little bit differently. But Carson Wentz is the much better option. And we were first to that last week in the jungle. We had them all over the Bengals last week, and of course they clobbered them. And Carson Wentz ran the offense very efficiently. Minnesota also has a much better defense. They're allowing more than 100 yards less per game than Pittsburgh. Minnesota allowing 271 yards per game, Pittsburgh 386. The play in this game is Minnesota minus the 2.5. Cleveland at Detroit, the Lions are laying 9.5. Last week we took the Browns plus the 8.5 over the Packers. And in that video, I said I think the Browns can win this game outright because I don't take a team with the points unless I think they can win the game straight up. And they did. But the Lions are different than the Packers, a different animal. I'm not a believer in Green Bay, and I'm not a believer in Jordan Love. But I am a believer in the body of work that the Lions offense has showed. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, Jamar Gibbs, and David Montgomery. And the lack of ability to move the football that Cleveland possesses combined with the Lions' pass rush, to me, has all the makings of a blowout. Take Detroit minus the 9.5. Chargers at the Giants. Chargers laying 6.5 points. Take the Chargers minus the points in this game. The Giants are an absolute disaster or shit show, as the kids say. And they're starting rookie Jackson Dart on Sunday. The Chargers are a very difficult team to make your first NFL start against. Not only is it that he's going against the hottest quarterback in the NFL, in Justin Herbert, and who I believe may be the best coach we've seen in 5 years in Jim Harbaugh, but Herbert has looked like a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. He's torching defenses, and the Chargers have waxed some top teams already. Quentin Johnson is now catching the football, and I think this line is short. I think this line should be 8.5 or 9.5. Here's a professional betting tip for you. If you think a team is going to win, don't be afraid to lay anything less than a touchdown. Take the Chargers minus the 6.5. Commanders at the Falcons. Atlanta minus 2.5. No Jaden Daniels for Washington. No Terry McLaurin for Washington either. It's easy to look at the Falcons' performance last week against Carolina and doubt them. And I don't blame you if they do. But that's a game in which they had 2 turnovers that forced short fields, and they had a bunch of things go wrong. And the worst game that Michael Penix Jr. played as a professional. We saw his floor. The fact is Atlanta's defense, though, is legit. They're second in yards per game allowed, second to only Cleveland. They're top 10 in points per game allowed, even after that 30-point allowance last week against Carolina. I believe in the offense. I believe in Michael Penix Jr. I believe in Bijan Robinson and the weapons that Penix has on the outside. I think Atlanta wins this game, but I'm not laying the points. Give me Atlanta on the money line for anything less than minus 140. Eagles at the Buccaneers. Philadelphia minus 3.5. Mike Evans out for Tampa Bay. Chris Godwin probably out as well for Tampa Bay, and their offensive line almost exclusively out. That offensive line is held together by duct tape. That's a tough task for Baker Mayfield against this Eagles pass rush. I think this line is short. I think it's disrespect to the Philadelphia team who has done nothing but win and win by margin over the last 2 years. Don't think too much about this game. Take Philly minus the 3.5. Panthers at the Patriots. New England is minus 5.5. But let's look at the over in this game. It's sitting at 42.5, one of my favorite players on the board. Now, these are two defenses that don't get much pressure on the quarterbacks, and they're two quarterbacks in Bryce Young and Drake May that, when not pressured, can complete a lot of passes and move the chains. 70% of Panthers games last season went over the total of 42.5, and 70% of Patriots games went over the total of 42.5. That's our play here. We're playing the odds in this game. We're beating the casino. Go over 42.5 in Carolina and New England. Saints at the Bills. If you listen to my channel, you know that my rule is don't take a team with the points unless you think they can win the game straight up. It's not good betting practice to try and assess how much a bad team is going to lose by. That's silly. Silly, I tell you. And the Saints, I don't think, can win this game. When Buffalo wins, they normally win by margin. Take the Bills, laying the points. I'd like to talk about one of my sponsors for just a minute. It's mybookie.ag. So they reached out to me a few weeks ago. And they said, yo, Silverback, we recognize the growth of the jungle. We like what you're doing, and we want to get behind it. So I looked into them, did my due diligence. And mybookie.ag is one of the biggest and most reputable, trustworthy offshore books that there is. So we talked, we come up with a business arrangement, and they gave me some talking points. They said, here's the things we want you to hit upon when you include us in your videos. And one of the things was talking about parlays, and I said, here's the deal. I'm not going to do that. And they said, why not? I said, because I don't like parlays. I don't believe in them. I don't bet them. They benefit the books, not the bettor. I discourage my members, my friends, my family, my viewers to not do parlays. I'm not doing that. I won't compromise my integrity, right? I don't need your money. I eat Red Lobster 3 times a week, you know what I'm saying? I'm growing the business. I want to grow the business with sponsors, of course, but I'm not going to do that. And they said, we like that. You're a little bit different. I said, I am different. And they said, all right, do it your way. And I said, but what can you give Jungle viewers, Jungle members, Jungle listeners? What can you offer them, right? Because they're the reason I exist. They're the reason I'm able to do this. And I said, here's what we'll do, Silverback. Every jungle viewer that opens a new account at mybookie.ag, if they use the promo code Silverback, the first bet that they make with our book, if it loses, we'll refund it up to $500. So that's the deal. Open up an account at mybookie.ag. If your first bet doesn't hit, they'll refund it up to $500. But we hope that it does hit because I'm giving you good advice. But the story is mybookie.ag. It's a good partner. They're trustworthy. Give them a shot. mybookie.ag, promo code Silverback. Next game up, we have the Titans at the Texans. Houston laying 7.5 at home. Now, both teams are 0-3, and I can no longer defend Marcus Stroud. I can no longer defend or support the Texans' offense. They've been terrible. They have the 4th lowest points per game of any team in the NFL. But these are two good defenses, and that's where I want to focus. I think it's a get-right spot for Houston, but I'm not willing to lay more than a touchdown with them. Instead, let's back both these defenses and go under 39.5. Now, it's a very low total, I know that. But in the jungle, if you're familiar with the channel, we play the lowest totals under and the highest totals over. And the sharp money agrees with us. No, I'm part of the sharp money. No, I'm brave, you know what I'm saying? But 51% of the public are on the under, but 83% of the money is on the under. That tells you that the big bets, the big money, is coming in under 39.5, and that's where we're going here. Houston, Tennessee, under 39.5. Colts at the Rams. Rams laying 3.5. The Rams are coming off a close loss to who I believe is the best team in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles. If the Rams had won this game, this could be a flat spot for them, but they didn't, and it's not. But after a close loss and facing a team that I believe in Indianapolis is overinflated, let's take a look at Indianapolis. They beat the Dolphins, the Titans, and what I believe is an overrated Broncos team. Now the Rams laying just 3.5 points at home. That's the bet here. One of the best teams in the NFL, Rams, minus the 3.5. Jacksonville at San Francisco. Jacksonville plus 3.5, and that's the play I like here. Jacksonville plus the points. And before you go nuts in the comments, I know that Brock Purdy's playing. That doesn't scare me away. Jacksonville's offense has been able to run the ball this season. The Jaguars are 5th in NFL in rushing yards, and they're protecting the quarterback, 2nd in the good column in terms of sacks allowed. That's going to be even more notable this weekend against the 49ers with the absence of Nick Bosa. And Jacksonville's defense has been very good as well. They're an underrated team this season, under the radar. 17 points a game, 5th best in the NFL, and at 292 yards a game is 7th best in the NFL. Take the Jaguars plus 3.5. Bears at the Raiders. Chicago is plus 1.5, and that's the side I like here. Believe it or not, I've seen the Bears offense get better every week, and that's, last week that is some things that made you say, I think I like that. That's kind of tough to stop. That's a really elite offense. Some things that they did, not all things. The Raiders, however, can't get anything working offensively, averaging just 17.7 points a game. And Geno Smith, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and 12 sacks, for Christ's sake. The Raiders gave up 41 points to the Commanders last week in a Commanders team that was without Jay McDaniels, and Chicago dismantled the Dallas Cowboys. I think that the Raiders are stuck in a rut, and the Bears are a team on the up and up. Take the Bears plus the 1.5. Ravens at the Chiefs. Baltimore laying 2.5 on the road. And how crazy is this? One of these teams, Ravens or Chiefs, will be 1-3 by the end of Sunday. I think that team is Kansas City. Yes, Xavier Worthy is back, but Kansas City is, in complete shambles. And you look at the 2 losses that Baltimore had. They were against Buffalo and Detroit, 2 of the best teams in the NFL, possibly 2 Super Bowl teams. Baltimore statistically, offensively, is in the top category of any metric that you want to look at. And certainly I trust the star power and the skill possessions that they possess more than do Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is trying to do too much, and he just does not have the horses with him. I'll take Baltimore on the money line over Kansas City for a good price. Last game we're looking at, Green Bay at Dallas. Dallas plus 6.5 at home, and that's the side I want to be on. This is not a misspeak. I want the Cowboys plus the 6.5. I said this since week 1. I don't buy Jordan Love. I don't buy the Green Bay Packers as a contender. Dallas is 4th in yards per game with 393. Green Bay is 20th with 300. Green Bay is scoring 21.3 points a game. Dallas 24.7. And I know the Green Bay Packers defense is better. I do. And I also know that CeeDee Lamb is out before you put that in the comments. But the Packers are perhaps the most overinflated team from a betting standpoint that we've seen in some time. I think that Dak Prescott is much better than Jordan Love. I trust him and the Cowboys at home to cover the 6.5. Let's have a day, Jungle Nation. I'll see you next time with a little more money in your pocket.